Thank you for joining today or watching the recorded video. This week, we will be introducing Module 3, which is the Workplace Readiness Skills Overview. Teresa's going to go into more detail shortly about what is the components of each lesson, but I just wanted to do a quick introduction. And then for the toolkit, I'm going to remind you the first Module 1 was the technology assessment. Module 2 was the job exploration, which we found was so important for especially working with this younger age population that they often don't know what they want to do for employment. And then the reason that we have Module 3 workplace readiness skills was the other section of the toolkit that we decided to focus on is our experience as vendors of Pre-ETS was that workplace readiness skills was the most requested Pre-ETS. So we felt that it was really important from that perspective to make sure that we included it. But again, because of the younger population that we're working with for this study, 14 to 16, these are students that often have never had any previous work experience or very limited internship, community-based instruction. So making sure that we had provided the opportunity to do workplace readiness skills. Now there are 6 lessons total for this section. And what we've done this time is actually drop 3 lessons, 4, 5, and 6 at the same time. So the organization of those lessons might be a little different from what you've seen before for Module 1 and Module 2. And that's because we had actually so many requests from other student participants for the Canvas course to release more than 1 lesson at a time so that they could work ahead, especially if they were actually teaching any Pre-ETS. So we dropped lessons 4, 5, and 6 at one go, and then we'll drop lessons 7, 8, and 9 as another collective again. And the other reason we decided to break that up as 3 lessons is, and Carolyn will talk more about this, but when we show you the report template for, again, communicating the workplace readiness skills that students have done and sharing their results and information with stakeholders, we have, from our own experience, found that it's best to make sure that you are filling out this information about every 3 lessons or so. Otherwise, you start to forget what you did. So making sure that you don't give yourself too much time between actual instruction and filling out the information. So I believe that's my introduction for the workplace readiness lessons. And Teresa, if you want to take it from here and introduce the components of each lesson.
That sounds great, Stephanie. Did you want to look over the objectives for this module?
Yep, I think that would be a great place to start.
Okay, let's do that. So let's just look at these real quick. First, we want to gain knowledge in the delivery of Pre-ETS, job exploration, workplace readiness skills, and community-based work experience. These are objectives we went over, but we're just going over them again. So identify techniques and strategies for providing Pre-ETS instruction to youth age 14 to 16 with significant disabilities. We want to connect workplace readiness skills to education and home settings, develop disclosure strategies and accommodation requests with students, gain knowledge on how to plan post-secondary education and training based on vocational goals and interested career clusters, identify evidence-based practices and key predictors for incorporating Pre-ETS into classroom education and home activities, and lastly, reflect on current practices to identify strengths and areas for improvement in Pre-ETS delivery. With that being said, we're going to dive into Module 3. And first, I'm going to explain to you the different components. So please note that you have 6 weeks to complete the directions for all of the workplace readiness skills lessons. So we do highly recommend completing an in-depth review of a lesson and then going straight to the discussion board and a quiz each week, as Stephanie said, so you'll remember the content of what you just went through in that lesson. So here are some instructions for you. First, download and review the following lesson materials. Now this you'll find in your lesson guide pages 53 to 69. Lesson 4, you'll see instructor presentation, introduction to workplace readiness skills. You'll also see the student workbook. Look for my job exploration workbook. Also, the second part of the workbook, of the student workbook, is the workplace readiness skills workbook that you'll be looking at now. In each lesson, remember there is a pre-test and a post-test, so that's a PDF you can download, as well as a workplace readiness chart that's in a PDF form that you can download. So you'll want to complete the workplace readiness skills discussions, complete the workplace readiness skills quizzes, complete the weekly tracking form that Carolyn will talk about in just a few minutes, and then download and complete the workplace readiness reports and complete the next component of your action plan that you've been working on. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit about these next 6 lessons. We start with lesson number 4, because remember lessons 1 through 3 are in job exploration. So lesson 4 as an introduction to workplace readiness skills. This lesson focuses on identifying and understanding the importance of the 21st century workplace readiness skills. Students will define workplace readiness skills, understand their importance of the workplace, and identify ways to improve their workplace readiness skills. Now, lesson 4 begins now and will end on April 21st. The next lesson, lesson 5, is on problem solving. So this lesson focuses on understanding the steps needed in problem solving and the importance of this skill as it applies to the workplace. Lesson 5 begins on April 22nd and ends April 28th. The next lesson, lesson number 6, is work ethic. This lesson focuses on defining work ethics and work habits that are necessary for success. This lesson begins on April 29th and ends on May 5th. Please note that this lesson features an additional slide presentation for a student activity. Lesson 7 is entitled Communication Skills, Listening and Speaking. This lesson focuses on one of the essential interpersonal workplace readiness skills, which is communication skills, listening and speaking. Lesson 7 can start May 13th and would close May 19th. Lesson 8 is teamwork. This lesson focuses on the importance of teamwork and strategies for being a team player. Lesson 8 can start May 13th and ends May 19th. The last lesson, which is lesson number 9, is professionalism. This lesson focuses on the behavior and skills that demonstrate professionalism in the workplace. In lesson 9, it starts May 20th through May 26th. And please note that lesson 9 also includes an optional module on reviewing a student activity in an app called Kahoot, which has ended up being a lot of fun. All right, Carolyn, on to you.
Sorry about that. Okay, I realized I was in student view, and because we are only releasing 3 lessons at a time, you didn't get to see lessons 7 through 9, the description, but Teresa did a great job of giving you an overview of what they are. So just a couple of quick reminders with the discussion board. Again, this is the way to engage with the rest of your rest of the participants in the course in the research study. So make sure that you're answering all the questions thoroughly, and and responding as usual as before. You have to do one initial response to each of the questions for the discussion board, and then respond to 2 other course participants. Understanding that everybody doesn't post at the same time, but you have time, okay, to do that. So make sure that you have the opportunity to review their responses and give some feedback, because this is how we're going to improve our practice with Pre-ETS. Again, with the quizzes, just a reminder, you have 2 opportunities. You have to make an 80 in order to get full credit for those. So we want to make sure that you continue to do those. Now we have a couple of new things. You did the job exploration report, I believe, in module 2. At the end of lesson 6, you will have to do a workplace readiness report. I'm sorry, a workplace, yeah, you will do the first part of the workplace readiness skills report that Stephanie mentioned. And again, this report is designed for students to give feedback on what their thoughts are, you to take a moment and see how they're doing. You assess their test results, you know, how they've done on the quizzes, the pre-test and post-test, to see how they're doing with the objectives, and for you to give some feedback on, you know, how things are going with the students and how they're performing with Pre-ETS. What are your recommendations at this point? Do they need additional instruction? Are there some other activities? What worked and what didn't work for them? That's what the purpose of these reports are. And they're for your use. This is not something that you have to turn into us. But this is, we found it to be a pretty handy tool and helpful as folks are doing transition planning and planning for continued Pre-ETS instruction.
And Carolyn, I just want to jump in just in case we have someone who may have forgotten, because I know we mentioned this in the first 2 Zoom sessions, but we know that some participants who are in the course right now are not actually actively teaching Pre-ETS. And if you're not teaching Pre-ETS and you don't have students to do these reports on, that's fine. We understand. It's just to make sure that you understand the reports are here to use as a documentation for you when you are teaching Pre-ETS. If you are doing Pre-ETS right now, as you're going through this course, that's wonderful. And definitely we would say use these documents. And I realized I forgot to mention this at the very beginning. So another reminder that this toolkit is designed as a curriculum for job exploration, work lessons, workplace readiness lessons, and some suggestions on how to build a community-based work experience. However, if you have your own Pre-ETS materials that you're using or curriculum, the point of this toolkit is that it can also be used in addition to that curriculum. It can, pieces of the lessons can also be pulled out and used as needed, depending on the individuals that you're working with. So I apologize. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, and sorry for interrupting, Carolyn, but I just wanted to say that.
All right. And with that in mind, while your workplace readiness reports or the job exploration reports are, again, they're a tool for your purpose, but we do need, as part of course requirements, your weekly tracking form, the Pre-ETS delivery tracking form, because we do want to know if you are having the opportunity to do Pre-ETS. And if you're not, it doesn't count against you. This is for data collection only. Okay, so it's not going to interfere with your completion of the course, but we do really need you all to complete these weekly reports just to see where we are with Pre-ETS service delivery to our students. So you just fill it out each week and submit. And then the last thing is the assignment, is your action plan. For the Pre-ETS, that you will complete your action plan at the end of lesson 9, I believe. Am I correct, Stephanie? Yes. Okay. Yeah. You'll complete your action plan at the end of lesson 9. It'll be due May 26th. And this is where you will identify objective 2 of your SMART goal. Now, we are suggesting that it be an objective related to workplace readiness skills, to those 6 lessons that you will have completed to achieve your SMART goal. And we've given you some examples, but just be as specific as you can. Talk about who's responsible for accomplishing that objective, what the timeline is, what your desired outcomes. And again, we have given you some examples. So this is a cumulative thing that by the end you will have an action plan that you can actually, use and have some data from and see some results, some improve your outcomes as it is. So be sure that you have the opportunity to complete that and let us know if you have any questions. Okay. Did I miss anything, Stephanie? Lisa?
I think you're good. So at this point, we're gonna open it up to see if there are any questions that anyone has about this module or about even the last two modules of the course.
Yeah, I have a question about the weekly tracking document. If you miss 1 week, because it's not dated, is it?
It's not dated, so if you miss a week and you just want to retroactively fill that out, that would be perfect because that is data for us and we on our end can see when it comes through.
So still go back and do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you. That was a good question.
Thanks.
Anyone, any others? Okay. All right.
Thank you. And I think we're gonna probably stop the recording and we'll put this up so that if anyone